to physics fundamentals. Today we are going to go over reviews of what we have discussed in this physics fundamental course, and make sure that we are all comfortable with taking the final examination. So I wanted to touch more on commutative properties and how commutative properties work and when they are used and how they are used. So we discussed commutative properties and how they work. They allow us to move our numbers and rearrange numbers, and we are allowed to get the same desired outcome for our answer to the equation. So we want to use commutative properties when practicing physics. It makes the work a lot simpler. So there's a few things you should know about using commutative properties. We discussed when you use commutative properties, you want to complete the information within the parentheses first before you move on when completing a lesson or a math problem under commutative properties. So any numbers within the parentheses will and shall be completed first under commutative properties. Another thing you want to know and understand about commutative properties is that commutative properties can only work and be true and remain true when it applies to addition and multiplication. So, commutative properties are not allowed when you are dividing or subtracting. Commutative properties does not work. However, when you are multiplying or adding, commutative properties work. And no matter how you rearrange these numbers, the desired outcome will still remain. So you will still have the correct answer under commutative properties no matter how you rearrange your numbers. And that's important to know because in physics, we are already dealing with portions and ratios, as we have learned. And so we are multiplying for the sake of physics. So this is why physics is so great. It allows you to multiply. So there are many steps. However, physics involves multiplications of ratios and portions. Now, that's important to understand because ratios and portions, if multiplied, they become smaller. Then we are also going to talk a little bit more about Celsius to Fahrenheit, and I want you to get a very practical idea of what Celsius is and what Fahrenheit is. So we have discussed and determined that Fahrenheit is equal to 32. Fahrenheit is when things are heated all the way up. So 32 Fahrenheit is very, very, very hot. Now let's talk about Celsius. What we know is that when something gets 32 Celsius, it is freezing. It is very cold. 32 Celsius is the point at which water freezes. You also need to know and understand that from 0 to 100 degrees, water will boil. So remember, 32 Celsius is freezer burnt. 32 Fahrenheit is hot, heat burnt. So, you want to make sure you know the difference between Celsius and Fahrenheit. These questions will be on the final examination. As we go on, we want to discuss a little bit more about the first law. And the first law of motion is created by Isaac Newton. And Isaac Newton's first law of motion says that if an object is at rest, it shall remain at rest unless net force moves it. Unless it's moved by a net force, this object shall remain at rest. If an object is in motion, the object will remain in motion unless moved by net force. So this is the first law of motion, and this law was created by Isaac Newton, and you will need to know this. The final examination will include 20 questions. You will need paper and scratch paper. You will have the entire class time to complete the examination. The objectives will again appear on the syllabus. And you will not be allowed to use calculators for this final examination. You will, however, be allowed to use scratch paper. This is not an open book examination, for there are no worksheet books. You will be provided a conversion table for BMI to convert feet and inches to meters and pounds and ounces to kilometers. Again, you will be given the entire class time to complete the final examination, which includes 20 questions. Physics. Fundamentals.